Hello and welcome to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, where learning gets a breath of fresh air. I'm your host Alistair, and each week I talk with people from all walks of life to explore how education, the outdoors, and real-world experiences shape who we are. From classrooms to campfires, trails to town halls, we dig into the lessons that move us, challenge us, stick with us, and can make the world a better place. And on this week's episode of the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, we have author R.L Akers. R.L, how are you today?
Very good, very good. Thank you for having me.
No, I really appreciate you being here. The time of recording, we're dealing with the this infamous snowstorm that's impacted most of the country. So I'm glad to say we both have power, we're both well, and I'm really glad that you are able to be here with me. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. The name is R.L. Akers. I'm a writer. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. Not in that order of priority. Writing comes down a little bit lower. From Florida originally, moved my way north to West Virginia, where I've been for the last 21 to 2 years, I think now. And yeah, but those are the most important things in my life. I love it.
Yeah, we talked briefly last week in West Virginia. I've driven through. I've sort of stopped off, but it's one of those places that I haven't. I've been to it, but I don't think I've truly seen it yet. And we talked very briefly. A friend of mine from Puerto Rico who lived here in Texas recently moved up there, and although she does not enjoy the cold, man alive, it looks just round every corner. It just looks
Yes,
stunning.
it's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, it's very much on my must get back to list. But as you mentioned, you're a writer, you're an author. But I did ask your permission right before we started. Something that jumped out to me as a lifelong educator is you're involved in the foster care system. And I've seen many children come through my classroom who are waiting to get I don't know to
Mm.
get the terminology wrong, waiting to get placed, waiting to find their home, and then also seeing children who are in their home, and so it's something that touches me quite deeply. That the impact of what you do. Would you mind telling me just before we get into your books a little bit about your involvement in the foster care system and what it means to you?
Sure, sure. It, it's a big problem. It's a growing problem in our country. And I don't want to misquote statistics because I haven't stayed as much up on it, but many thousands of children do not have a home. And whenever you have a problem that's that big, how in the world do you fix it? And it can't just be, the government waves a magic
Hmm.
wand. It's got to be people, right? I mean, there are some, and I know some superheroes out there that have this heart to constantly be bringing in new kids, as many as they can stuff in their home because kids need family. Um,
Hmm.
but they can't do it for all, 4,000 kids in a given state, for instance. It needs to
Right.
be each person or as many people as we can helping. So I had that burden, and I've always loved kids. And I got married late in my mid 30s, not that late, but
Hmm.
um, for the time before that, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to, I want to contribute in some small way. And I was definitely
Hmm.
no superhero, just one guy. But for several years there, I did. First had a preteen boy for about 15, 16 months, and then later did a long-term placement several months with a teenager. And not as an adoptive situation, just as
Hmm.
a going to foster and provide your place until hopefully you find your forever home. So it you know it you do what you can. Everybody does what they can, but I think as much as we can,
Hmm.
certainly as community, try to be there for families that are helping, to support families that are helping, which is something we try to do certainly through my church. And there are some other there's a lot that can be done, even if you're not ready and willing to open your own home. And not everybody can or should. That's okay. But
I think that you've hit a really key point there, that certainly just opened my eyes a little bit. Obviously, we're all thinking a foster system is wonderful. Let's help these children. All positive, but most of us, I think, will also go. I don't have the room. I maybe don't have this. I don't have that. It's not something I can do. But you're absolutely right. I think all of us in some capacity could support and help, and the families that are the ones actually with
Yes,
the children coming in, and that's I'm not going to say just as important, but it's a crucial part of the bigger
absolutely.
picture. Yeah, we can all provide a meal. We can
Exactly.
all provide some clothing or something to help, even if we're
Encouragement.
yes, yeah, even if we're the ones without the spare bedroom and able to bring in somebody.
Sure.
Yeah, that's something that's going to stick with me. Is yeah, saying you don't have the room, which I would sit
It's
here and go, I
fair.
don't have the room. It's
Yeah.
fair. It's fair, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean I'm out of the equation.
Right.
So, no, very good. I appreciate you sharing your experiences. But we did connect over You've written a series of books, and please correct me if I'm wrong here. The OverTwixt series. I think you've maybe written some other things. I'd love to hear about how you got into writing. I often feel, and a good friend of mine in education always told me that everyone's got a book in them, but not everyone does anything with it. So I'd love to hear about how you traveled that journey.
Sure. So, Overtwixt began as a story for what was at that point my um, 7 or 8 year old, or I think she was 7 year old, my daughter,
Hmm.
my third child, and we were doing date nights with the kids. My wife and I were kind of trading off, trying to make sure each of our four kids got their one-on-one time. And we were out at a Wendy's of all places, talking about princesses and unicorns, and that kind of got me started. But Overtwixt grew into a lot more than that. But it's a story originally. At the first book is based on or features characters based on my four children.
Ah,
Um, and very, very deliberately, I wanted to kind of write into the story all the best things about them and their loyalty to one another and their interests and a little bit of their idiosyncrasies. But it's about these four kids that are traveling with their parents through the airport, the Atlanta airport as it happens, and they go through the wrong gate. They get sucked into this magical world. The bridge behind them back to the real world gets torn down, and before their parents can come through, so they get stuck there. So they have to be part of this plot to overthrow an evil tyrant who has been tearing down all the bridges between these floating islands between peoples. So that was
that's
the
so
that was the germ of
interesting.
it.
I love it, and I've not read your books. I want to put that out there, but I've become invested. Having read through your website and looked at your books, I'd love to hear. I've spoken to quite a few non-fiction authors,
Okay.
but I think this is my first interview with somebody who's written fiction. So obviously, this is a different lens of one that's super interesting. How did you approach building a world that felt unfamiliar and foreign, but also no, you don't want to go too far that way. It has to be somewhat recognizable, I would
Yes.
imagine. How did you come up with building this, the overworld? Sorry, the over Twix world, right?
No, good question. Absolutely. And that's a very fair question, particularly when writing for young adults, for younger readers, because too much
Hmm.
unfamiliarity and it's so alien you can't read it. It's hard. So each the whole idea is that Overtwixt is kind of a middle place between all the infinite dimensions or alternate dimensions, if you will,
Right.
of the universe, fictional, of course.
Hmm.
We, the humans, being one of them. So uh, all people, when they come into Overtwixt, come into their home island, their home floating island, or Nyland as they're called. And so the humans come in on their human island. And interestingly enough, their human island looks a lot like West Virginia. It's got
Right.
mountains, it's got trees, it's got forests, and of course, even just the terminology for things is very human. So it's not there's enough that's overwhelming coming to a magical world at once without changing all the terminology and trappings. But as they go, as they progress through, and they meet very different peoples with different everything, obviously you learn more as you go.
It sounds so interesting. Would you share with us, are there any, books, films, or experiences in your own life that really influenced the Overtwixt world series and the novels as a whole?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would say that part of it was influenced by my interest in Greek mythology. This
Uh,
idea of well, the mythological creatures, the centaurs, the minotaurs, the any of the half and half hybrid creatures. And so a lot of the creatures throughout Overtwixt are half of this and half that. And one of the things I get into as as I progress through, and I don't even really call it a series so much as a universe in which there are
Okay.
different series that you could jump in at any point. So the with my kids, the characters based on my kids is modern day. There's an ancient history trilogy, and
Ah.
particularly in that ancient history trilogy, I start going from other perspectives, other types of peoples, not humans,
Mm.
and I have fun looking at things from their perspective. Well, when they say human, when they say it, I can't talk today. Sorry, it's
You're
cold.
fine.
Like when a merman type creature might see a human, they don't think of that person as a human would. They see a human and they say, "Oh, that's the top half of a merman and the bottom half of a dolphin, or the bottom half of a not a dolphin, obviously, of a oh, I don't know, something that walks on 2 feet." So, I've had a lot of fun trying to look at things from other perspectives, alien as well as things that are not so alien.
Do you feel that is there an undertone, and there may not be, and that's fine, of reflecting real world situations, real world problems in your book? I suspected there might be. Could you talk a little to that and how that impacts your writing?
Absolutely. I
Yes.
And I really don't know that I set out to do that at first.
Right.
But it came out of it as I went along. Again, you need conflict in any story. It makes for a fun story. And this evil villain has been tearing down the bridges. He's been enslaving some peoples. He's been, inflaming the passions of others and leading them into evil actions of conquest and such. And but that metaphor of tearing down bridges between people. Again, I didn't set out to do that, but it happened. And so
Right.
now the good characters, they have to unite people. They have to bring people back together. People who don't always agree on things,
Hmm.
and in some cases aren't right. And a lot of times, well, all times in this world, they look very different from one another, but often they think
Right.
very differently. And so, yes, they have to overcome their differences and be understanding of one another, including within the family of the four children. You know, um, to unite and to take down the villain. And even that, the villain, as we see over time, is he's a character too. He's not just
Right.
evil, impersonal. He's a person as well. So, but yes, I think it's a message that we very much need right now. And I did set out to put some quote unquote morals to the story, not preachy, not distracting, but they're in
Right.
there. Lessons that the kids learn and maybe other readers, kids and
Right.
adults, pick up
Yes.
as they read. So,
So when you've written the books, you're selling them. I'm curious as to the feedback you receive, because I'm sure you ask people, "What do you think?" Or
oh,
people
sure.
have come to you and said, "I thought this." Has anything been surprising to you? Perhaps they took a message or resonated with a character that perhaps in your mind wasn't prominent in one of your stories.
Um, Nothing too surprising. I
Okay.
go through a lot of proofing with people. I
Ah,
try to get a
right.
wide variety of readers before I ever publish anything. A lot of it sails right over the heads of the younger readers. They just enjoy it for the fun. But a lot of the
Right.
adults do comment on some of the messages. I guess this is a good thing. I hear people say, I don't like fantasy, but I liked this. This was fun. Okay, thank you. Um, but no, I had a lot of fun with that. And I will say too, the one of the things that's been a great joy for me is to be involved in the audiobook productions. And I
That
have
was
a
going to be one of my
oh
questions.
yes,
Yes.
I have a wonderful narrator who does lots of different voices because I do hear different voices for certain races, and then for others he just added them. So the horses and the unicorns you might be interested to hear. The horses and the unicorns have a Scottish accent,
Ah.
which I absolutely love. There's this one character who's kind of a minor, an important supporting character, who's this little unicorn, and she's got the cutest little Scottish accent. So I think it sounds wonderful. You might think it sounds caricature, but it's been really fun to hear the voices in the audiobook productions.
Well, I'm going to assume that that wasn't a coincidence and was deliberate because the unicorn is the official national animal of Scotland.
Is it really?
It
Maybe it
really
was
is,
deliberate on his part but not on my
right?
part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the official national animal. I'm sure I'll get a little bit of the folklore wrong, and my fellow countrymen will come down on me. But the legend goes, the story goes that basically Scotland were fighting England. The Scots came down, in their armor with their shields, and they put a fictitious creature of the unicorn on the shield to scare the English.
Okay.
Essentially, go, what kind of animals and things do
Right.
they have there? We're going to step back. And that was where the legend of the unicorn was born. So it has
Okay.
become officially stamped in whatever government book it is as the
I
official
love it.
animal. So
I love it.
I love that little link. That's fantastic. Um, I was thinking, I think a lot of people would struggle. I want to write a book, and it ends there because I'm sure it seems overwhelming. Could you talk me a little bit through the writing process? You have a publisher. Where did this start to where it is today?
Sure. Well, I am my own publisher. I do
Okay,
self-publish.
okay.
I frankly, it's one of those goals someday to really try to pursue some traditional publishing, at least for a project or two.
Hmm.
But it's just I have so much I want to write, and there's only so much time. And that is, I do believe that process has changed over the decades. Certainly the tools are there. It is so much easier than ever before to publish. That also mean or to self-publish. That also means it's easy to publish something maybe that's not ready for publishing. So, you
Hmm.
still have to have your own internal controls and so forth. So, but what I would say is if you want to write, if you want to tell a story, tell the story. Decide you're going to do it and do it. You know, Try not to bite off too much, more than you can chew. I mean, starting out with an 8,000 page epic, maybe not.
Right.
Um, but one way or the other, you got to set the time aside and put in the work. Just you got to treat it like a job, even if it's just a part-time job. Um, where I got started, I mean, I wrote all my life. I wrote for work. I wrote for school.
Ah, okay.
Um, I did not write a whole, I mean, I do little essay type stuff for creative writing, but always wanted to write my story. And so in 2008, I did, and I'd highly recommend this. I think it's still around. It's called NaNoWriMo, NaNoWriMo, and that's probably .org. I'm not 100% sure of that. NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writing Month, and it's November of each year. And
Okay.
it's a challenge more than anything. It's not really a competition, but it's a challenge for anybody who wants to write a book to write that book. And the challenge is don't write a word before, midnight after Halloween, basically. But
Right.
if you want to start at midnight on November 1st, you start writing and you produce a 40,000 word manuscript in that month. And it's not as impossible as it sounds on the surface, especially when you're not being distracted by editing, by rereading. You just go, go, go. So you can plan as much as you want to ahead of time. You do your scripting, and I highly recommend that. That's very much a part of my process. Do all your research and scripting that you can ahead of time, and boom, you go.
I
And that
think
doesn't mean you're
that's
going to be ready to publish at the end,
right.
but producing a manuscript in that amount of time, you say, wow, this is doable. Okay, now let me start honing my craft.
Yeah, because I would assume many people who would like to write a book, they have an idea in their head,
Mhm.
don't get much beyond that because there isn't, or they don't feel that there's, a framework, a structure. They sit down with an open Word document and a blank piece of paper, and
Right.
it just, that's it. I mean, that's where I would be. So to have something like that, where there's that, like I said, it's not a competition, but it's a challenge to provide that framework for people to flourish. I mean, I can't wait. I'm going to look that up. It's when we get off of this. I'm going to
It's great.
have a
It's
look at
great.
that. Sounds like a really good thing. On that note, I'm always curious when I speak to authors in particular, where you do your best thinking. Is it sitting in a chair in your house? Is it going for a walk? Is it nature? Is it with family? Do you find that there's one place in particular where the really good ideas come to you? Yeah.
Uh, Honestly, variety is probably my place.
Okay.
I do a lot of writing here. This is my writing loft that I'm sitting in here, the upstairs of our detached garage, if you will.
Right.
Um, the office in the house, the shower sometimes, walking. I
Right.
mean, sometimes I used to spend a lot of time like at a Panera, just sitting there drinking their coffee, writing. But for me, when I hit a brick wall, I just sometimes I just have to walk away and think about it. I talk to my wife sometimes for ideas. But no, just having that variety, being able to walk around and come back to it.
I love that. we're kind of, coming around to the final stretch here, and I've got three questions I'd like to ask you before we start wrapping this up. Um, and you can take this as narrow or as broad as you would like, but how has your definition or your feeling of success changed for you over the years?
That is a good question.
Uh,
Um, Certainly in terms of writing, I guess I'll put it in the context of
okay.
writing.
Yes.
Um, it's writing the stories that I want to write. Um, I I like to say, or at least joke that, nobody gets rich writing books. I know that's not true, but probably
Right.
not very many people do, right? And it's like any kind of art. And historically, people made art because they wanted to, not and then they just kind of, scratched by in terms of, making a living off of it. Um, it's maybe not so bad as that now, but still, you do it because you love it. Write the
Mhm.
story you want to write. Um, and if it hits great quote unquote commercial
Yep.
success, fantastic. That allows you to keep doing more. And um, I think I'm improving in that regard, but I do it because I love it. I write the stories because I can, and I keep working on improving my craft. That's an element of success too, improving, constant improvement. I look back at earlier stuff I wrote, and I'm better now than I was then. Maybe I'm not to
Right.
somebody else's standard, but by my standards, I'm improving, and so that's success.
Yeah, always growing, isn't it? That's
Yes.
the key. What you're saying really resonates with me, and I wish I could remember where I heard this, but I can't, so I can't look it up to make sure I've got the details right. But it was somebody who was talking about one of the big acting unions based in Los Angeles, and many tens of thousands of members, and they were saying that the average income for an actor in California is 18,000 a year.
Mm,
And of course, you take out the 1%, all the names we know that are
right.
making 10 million a movie or whatever it might be, that's going to, take it down significantly. So you think about I think about, the thousands of people, I'm assuming, that move to Los Angeles or move to California every year to pursue their dreams, and the gumption and the dedication that these people must have, because they're going to know that the odds of making it big are like hitting the lottery, but
Right.
they still go because I imagine it looks like people want to move and become an actor for the fame and fortune, when I imagine the reality is they love the craft
Yes.
and they just
Yep.
want to be on a small stage, a big stage, just act, just
Yes.
be in there. And I think about these anonymous people quite a bit and go, good for them. Like
Yeah.
that's truly, living your craft and doing it right. And we'll never know their names, but they're out there doing it. So I don't know, it's something I think about, and it sounds like it sort of resonates with you in your writing
Absolutely.
as well. So outside of the OverTwixt series and your writing, has there been a book that has been particularly impactful in your life? And it could be fiction, non-fiction, personal, professional, however you want to view that question.
Uh, you mean a book from somebody else that
Yes,
I've
yes,
really
sorry,
enjoyed?
yes,
Okay.
from
Yeah.
somebody else, yes.
Ooh, gosh, there are so many.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah,
uh, I love David Copperfield by Charles Dickens.
right, yes.
Um, and it's funny, I've kind of written that book into the one I'm working on or just finished, which is a murder mystery, where the character is seeing a lot of parallels between his life. But I love that. It's an epic.
Hmm.
And then to speak of somebody who actually is very, very highly successful in the present day at the top of their game is Brandon Sanderson on the far extreme from one of the classics. Brandon Sanderson writes epic
Hmm.
fantasy, and he's been one that in recent years um, he does such a great job storytelling and setting up twists in the future that some of his early books I actually would finish reading and I'd go back and reread them from the beginning to say, okay, how did he hide that twist in the very first line of that book? Which of course, when it finally reveals, gives you this great sense of satisfaction as a reader. So I've actually studied how he does things. So that's been inspiring in a way as well.
So I just wanted to make sure, I'll tell you why in a second, but is it Sanderson?
Yes,
Okay. Um, I generally read nonfiction for no reason other than I enjoy nonfiction, and
sure.
I've not read any fiction and gone, this is garbage. It's not for me. I just haven't invested in it yet. But my wife, on the other hand, loves fiction writing, and she has she often thinks about what you've just been talking about. How did they hide that? So I want to
Mhm.
make sure she knows his name. It wouldn't surprise me if she goes, "Oh, I've read something."
Sure.
So I wanted to note that down.
Well, they're very, very long books, very long books.
Right. I will. I look forward to talking with that. Excuse me. As soon as we get off our call here. Um, I usually just have one more question, but for you, I've got two
Oh,
because we
okay.
do share a common nerddom of orchestral movie soundtracks.
Yes.
I don't pretend to be an expert or anything. I just love them. I enjoy classical music, but this genre of telling a story and setting a
Yes.
scene through orchestral music. Do you have a favorite? Is it possible to choose one, or could you just let us know one or two that you are particularly keen on?
Sure. I mean, not shocking at all. John Williams is definitely near the top
Right.
of that list. Certainly in my younger years, he was a favorite. I mean, just look at how many iconic themes he wrote: Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Superman. I mean, Harry Potter. So he's definitely a favorite. He's obviously not as active anymore. And
Hmm.
Hans Zimmer is um, he's very prolific as well. But there's, like you say, there's so many. There's
Yeah.
so many.
I think, I mean, again, John Williams seems like an easy answer, but I think it was impactful because I adored the movie and it came out in my teenage years. So I just listened to the original Jurassic Park soundtrack
Oh, yes. Yep.
intensely from start to finish. Um, I was, oh, I don't know, 12 or 13 when it came out. And I remember taking my own money, it seemed like a lot at the time, to purchase the CD. And
Yes.
that thing just got worn out.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's just ingrained in my soul as my favorite soundtrack of all time.
It's a good one.
Yes, one of my favorites. My final question for you, this might take a little thinking, but I
Okay.
was wondering if anybody in the world, and this could be somebody in your life, somebody famous, somebody you don't know, from history or today, anyone who's ever lived, came to you and said, "I'd like to be written into one of your books. I'd like for you to base a character around me and my
Mm.
characteristics." Is there anyone that you think you would like to base a character around to put into the OverTwixt world?
Interesting.
Yeah. Again, while you're thinking, I was thinking this morning about character development and as you very conveniently alluded to, basing some on real life people. So I was just curious as to if there's anyone who could come to you and say, "I'd love to be in the next book, the next series."
Someone that I'd like to write.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, nobody's popping to mind. I will say I've done a little bit of that already.
Oh, maybe you could tell us just a bit.
When
Yes.
I launched, so I did a Kickstarter, again, trying different things for different series, but I did a Kickstarter to launch OverTwixt and publish nine books in the universe all at once.
Wow.
And one of the packages for the people that supported at the highest level, or one of the highest levels, was that they could have their own OverTwixt story. So
Oh, that's
um,
brilliant.
I've gotten to write a few of those, and it's been a lot of fun because I give them the survey. What do you want? What do you what?
Yes.
So in OverTwix, everybody chooses a role from a short list of options, and like my kids are the lore master, the empress, the princess, and the knight, like a knight in shining armor. So to have people say, well, I would like to be the lounge pianist or whatever it may be, it's been a lot of fun
Right.
to do that. And historically, the ancient stories I've written in some actual or semi historical characters. Orpheus, for instance, was he
Mm.
a real person or not? I don't know, but 3,000 years back, I wrote him into the story.
Ah,
So it's 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 been a fun thing. But yes, I absolutely love writing people in. So
I love that, and I love the direction you took that question, which is why I ask it because it can go a
a lot of different
huge
ways.
amount of different ways. The way people think about that. Where can people find you if they're going? I want to read, some of these books. I want to find out more about RL himself. Where's the best place to read about you, to find out, or to even get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, my website is rlakers.com, and you can contact me through there, find social media links. OverTwixt has its own website, overtwixt.com. Of course, you can buy books, from all the major online resellers, retailers, I should say, but you can also get them through those websites. If you buy directly from me, I will sign and mail them to you, sign the books. But yeah, that's between those two sites, just about everything you could possibly want to know about me, which is probably more than you need to know about me. But yes,
I love it. And I'm a huge, the main way I consume books these days is through audiobooks.
yes,
Trying to do two things at once. If I'm going I try to go for a walk every day. Where
same.
are your audiobooks available? Is that should we go through your website, or where's the best place to go?
You can. Amazon, of course, audible.com is
Okay.
associated with Amazon. Audiobooks.com. They're on Apple Books. All the major ones should be there.
Okay.
So several of the Overtwixt are out, and I think we're three or four murder mysteries, and I have a murder mystery series as well. So
Fantastic. Well, R.L Akers, I cannot thank you enough for your time this morning. Thank you so much.
thank you very much, Alistair. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Thank you again to this week's guest, and I hope today's episode was as enjoyable for you as it was for me, and perhaps even inspired your next adventure. If you did enjoy the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can find more information at theoutdoorseyeducator.com or follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. Until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast.